I was having a sleepless night, tossing and turning. I couldn't get that article in Inc. magazine out of my head. The one about the company in the Chicago area whose accounting manager had stolen over $200,000 from them. As I tossed and turned, I thought about that article, and then something clicked. That could happen to me. The very next day, I went to my office to review my payroll and financial records, only to discover something that would haunt me for the rest of my life. I discovered that the company's accounting manager, my accounting manager, had stolen over $250,000 from us, just like the firm in Chicago. Worse yet, when I looked at the dates, the theft started within days after my older brother dropped dead out of nowhere. I then asked myself, what kind of human being would do that to another in their darkest hours? And what could I do now? What were my options? This was humiliating, a potential disaster if my employees found out. What about my clients and vendors? Could I afford to confront this head-on in public like the firm in the article did? Could I afford not to? I'm used to making decisions fast. I'm hyper and I wear my emotions on my sleeve. But I'm also a man of faith, and I've never laid a hand on my own children. I've also never shied away from a fight, and I'm not about to now. The stakes were just too high. My employees, their families, my family, and my soul. I've given everything to this business, and now this woman wants to take it away. But I won't let her. So I do what I do best. I act. Yet there was a decision to make. Would I choose to prosecute our accounting manager and do something that other small business owners don't do because of the bad publicity, the expense, and won't the courts just leave them a slap on the wrist anyway? It was at that point that I had to look in the mirror and ask myself some hard questions. Who are you? What do you stand for? And maybe the toughest question, what are you made of? I then reminded myself that my father and brother ran the Better Business Bureau in the Memphis area for over 4 decades. I was raised my entire life on honesty, integrity, and ethics. In my mind, there was no decision to make. We were going to go after our accounting manager, and we were going to go after her with everything we had. So we did choose to prosecute, but we also went public and put her names of the embezzlers in the newspaper in order to warn other small business owners not to hire them. Risky decision? Oh yeah. Painful to disclose? Of course it was. But at the end of the day, we chose to do right by our community in an effort to help other small business owners learn from our story and avoid a potentially catastrophic situation that could occur in their businesses. And by doing the right thing, not the easy thing, we enhance the company's reputation for honesty, integrity, and ethics for years to come. Now, doing the right thing, not the easy thing, also applied to our customers. I remember the day my operations manager came to my office to discuss a project we had, an installation down on the Gulf Coast with a casino. It was after Hurricane Katrina. I was sure he was going to tell me that the project had been put on indefinite hold. To my surprise, he turns to me and says, "Newsflash, the casino still wants us to install the equipment. And oh, by the way, they need it installed before the Christmas holidays." I looked at him with sheer amazement. They want us to do 4 months worth of work in less than 2? That's impossible, right? He chuckled and said, "It might be. But he said our customer is in a world of hurt and desperately needs our help. They need to get back up and running and back into business before the Christmas holidays." Well, what happened next was nothing short of a miracle. My team arrives on the Gulf Coast to a scene that looked like something out of World War II. Everywhere they looked, total devastation, destruction, buildings, schools, everything destroyed. On top of that, there was no electricity available. So my team would have to install the equipment working off of generators. And if that wasn't enough, the closest restaurants and hotels were over 2 hours away. Yet despite these incredible obstacles, my team got the project done in record time to meet the deadline. And in taking care of our customer in their most difficult times, we enhanced the company's reputation through exceptional customer service that would pay dividends for years to come. Now, doing the right thing, not the easy thing, also applied to our employees. I remember vividly the day my accounts payable manager came into my office. She shut the door. It was after a doctor's visit, and she proceeded to tell me I got some bad news. She then told me she had cancer and that it was not looking good. And then she said that she'd have to be out of the office for quite a while doing chemo and radiation treatment. Well, I had to gulp at first, honestly. And I looked at her and told her how sorry I was to hear about the diagnosis and let her know that everybody in the company would be praying for her in these difficult times. It was at that point that I contacted our human resource consulting firm to get their advice about how to handle the situation. Their response? Well, you can pay her for vacation and personal time, but then you got to cut her off. Now, while I knew that was kind of a standard answer, it also just didn't seem right to me. My accounts payable manager had been loyal to me and the company for a number of years and was going through a very difficult time. It just didn't seem right to add money to her list of worries. So after prayerful consideration, I chose to lead with my heart. And I chose to pay our accounts payable manager for as long as it took for her to get back on her feet and back in the office. It ended up being 9 months later. Expensive decision? Oh yeah. Heroic gesture? I'm not sure about that, but I do know that when my head hit the pillow that night, I was at peace with my decision. Now, another example, doing right by your employees, include the company's service manager. I remember the day that he heard about him having a family crisis. In fact, what I heard was that his mother was dying. It was at that point that I opened the door of my office and walked down the hall, only to see the company service manager walking in front of me. I was so stunned I wasn't really sure what to do, and then finally, I pulled him aside. And I said, what are you doing here? He said, well, he had no more personal and vacation times and didn't think he had a choice. I looked at him and I had to gulp, and I didn't really know what to say at first. And then finally I turned to him and I said, you listen to me. You go be with your mother and your family. Do not worry about your job or this business. Please know that your mother and your family would be in our thoughts and prayers. Doing the right thing? That was the only thing to do. Because through the years, employees have always been like family to me. And family takes care of family no matter what. I also believe that a business has to be about more than just making money. A business has to have a conscience. So in conclusion, I challenge all the small business owners out there to go out and do the right thing, not because it's easy, but because it is hard. But in doing so, you can build a reputation that you and your company can be proud of for the rest of your life. As Dr. Martin Luther King once said, the time is always right to do what is right. Thank you.